Hello there, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Parks and Bennis podcast here tonight. I'm joined by Aaron again, as usual, and after everyone deserting us last week, and me and Aaron just talking the world to rights on last week's show, we're joined by Terry tonight. Are you all right, Terry?
Hi lads, how are you? It's a pleasure to be back on.
Yeah, great. Are you all right, Aaron?
Yeah, doing very well.
Well, yeah, I'm also doing very, very well today. Just walking around with it, just a sense of just happiness, which is the norm for Everton fans at the moment. Because if we're being honest, we're going to win a lot. Well, apart from that, we will start by reviewing the games that have been played so far this weekend, and we'll start with our obligatory Watford talk. Friday night out, Watford won 1-0. I think half the viewers fell asleep, Aaron, but you're going to tell me why that is.
It was pretty boring, wasn't it?
Very
I don't know if you watched it, but it was a pretty dull game. Fortunately, we've got João Pedro, who scored an absolute screamer with 15 minutes ago, I think it was. I think we deserved the win, but you can see the signs are there going forward. But I don't think we have the personnel at the moment. We're playing Ken Sema as a second striker, but then Quino out of position. These are good players in there, but when they're in their natural positions, what I would say though is defensively we've been unbelievable this season. So that's a good platform to build, and I'm looking forward to the upcoming games.
You are leading the freedom fighter charge against 4-3s.
Yeah.
Totally putting this exciting brand of football that's sweeping English football at the moment in the bin. And I really, you and the other game I saw that was very cagey with the Preston Cardiff game this Sunday dinner time. It was very cagey, and I thought Vladimir Ivic and Neil Harris putting attacking football in the bin.
Thing is, I expect us to be a bit more entertaining going forward, but like I said, we've had so much uncertainty throughout the summer. I expect us to just grind out results at the start of the season. That's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, are you confident for the season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's nothing much to complain about at the moment. I think we've got Kapil will come back, Saar will come back, Alexandre Gray will come back. Players like that who will they'll improve the way we play going forward, and I think we'll definitely see improvements going forward.
Well, I must agree. I watch Watford, and I thought that the basis of every good team who comes up is all there. The identity on the pitch. You can see what Vladimir Ivic is doing. So I did watch the game Friday night, but I went straight to our group chat, and the way Alfie Jones is going on Friends of the podcast, I thought Watford had lost 4-0, and I was watching a repeat from 2009 or something. But hey ho. Have you got any? We always start off by talking about the Championship. Have either of you got any thoughts on who might come up other than Watford?
I think it's very hard to say at the moment, to be honest. You've got likes of Bournemouth who've done all right. Norwich are still kind of around the playoff places, I think. You've got Brentford who are rising up the table, but there's only been 5 games. And you never know with the Championship. It changes so much. So I think it'll take a bit longer to work out who's going up and who's going down.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll now move on to. Are we going to save the game of the weekend, the Merseyside derby, Saturday afternoon?
Probably. Certainly the game of Saturday. I don't know about Sunday, but it's game of Saturday by far.
It was the game of Saturday, but I was happiest when the full-time whistle was blown, so that's how good it must have been. We'll start with you with this one, Terry. 2-2. We'll start from Everton's point of view. Good result.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to win a derby, obviously, but you've got to take the emotion out of it and just think, Liverpool. If you forget the fact of the derby, Liverpool, the reigning champions. They're one of the best teams in the world, if not the best team in the world. It's there's a strong case to be made for them, and Everton. I've got a point against them. Not many, teams beat Liverpool at all, and not many get points off them either. So for Everton to go into the game against the Liverpool, who frankly were running rampant at the beginning of the game, trying to correct the shock results against Aston Villa, the 7-2. Everton did well to not, crumble in the first 15 minutes because the team were just under wave after wave of attack. So Everton didn't particularly play well for large spells of the game, but they showed character that hadn't been there, last season under the previous manager. And dug in and got the result. Obviously, there was a large serving of good fortune with some of the VAR decisions. Pickford not being sent off, the offside given for the last second goal, which let Pickford off again because, frankly, he was just a hologram in the goal. Yeah, it's a good result for Everton. All things considered, especially when you take in the context of how the performance went, and it's not a very good result for Liverpool considering they did play their best game practically, and they've come out of the game with a point to show for it and at least one major injury.
No, not great for them. Aaron, you've not been wrapped up in this derby hysteria all weekend, so as a fan of not even a Premier League team, what's your non-biased sort of neutral perspective on the game?
I thought it was probably Everton's worst performance of the season. I mean, I think they certainly started very slowly. It took about 2-3 minutes, I think it was, for Liverpool to score, but they grew into the game as it went on. I thought Gomez was anonymous again. I thought Doucouré carried the midfield at times. I know a certain Alfie Jones doesn't like Doucouré and doesn't want to accept it, but I thought Doucouré was quite good. Jordan Pickford was probably Everton's best and worst player at the same time because he made, I think, two or three very decent saves, but you had the third goal that was well off offside. That was Pickford's fault. You had the Van Dijk incident. That was completely down to Pickford. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a good result from Everton. I don't think the performance will be too negative considering the start that they've had. But, yeah, it's certainly good signs. And as for Liverpool, the performance was there, but the result wasn't. So I'd say it's probably a little bit worrying for them, especially with what's happened to Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, from my point of view, I think we were saying before that if we strip team colours away from that game and Everton had drawn a game with last season's league winners by about 25 points or 30 points, wherever it was, it'd be another sign of real progress this season. The desperation to win the derby always overclouds that, but 13 points from 5 games, I'm not complaining. I think that's been a fantastic return. We're in the quarterfinals of the cup. Everyone else in the league, and I say everyone, looks in flux in some way, shape or form. There's no one who's really got hold of the league so far. And so, from our point of view, it's just about one game at a time, win it, and then move on to the next one. We will have to talk briefly about the Van Dijk injury. Obviously, wishing Virgil van Dijk a speedy recovery from his injury that he sustained on Saturday, and I'll go to Terry on this one. It was a bad incident, but how do you see it? Well,
yeah, I mean, Everton have been Pickford and Everton have been incredibly lucky to not be punished for it in the game. It's just a brain dead, reckless challenge. It's not, despite what a lot of people will say, it's not a malicious challenge because let's be honest, what goalkeeper is going to deliberately set out to foul someone in his box? It's not going to happen. He's not evil. He's just thick. Like he's flew in to try and close the ball down because he's hesitated in the first instance and he's gone for it and he's clattered Van Dijk and unfortunately caused quite a bad injury. And I don't begrudge any Liverpool supporter for feeling aggrieved, to lose their easily most influential, if not best player, to such a terrible long-term injury. And it's a sickener. Like you can't, you put yourself in their shoes. Any team, if you lost your best player to a season-ending injury in a derby, it's gonna sting, isn't it? But yeah, Pickford should have been sent off. There's no question about it. And I just don't think all these crazy, bizarre shouts of he should be banned for as long as Van Dijk's injured for and what have you. Like should be in jail according to Piers Morgan. And yeah, it's just I understand it's it's outrageous that he wasn't punished on the spot for it, because he should have been, especially with VAR. But I think people need to get a grip when it comes to some of these ideas. If he was retrospectively banned, as if he was sent off in that instance, I'd be, a little bit. I'd be a little bit upset, because retroactive bans don't happen very often, and that'd be our second one. But I wouldn't complain. The equivalent of a 3-match ban, red card, but anything more than that's just mob rule, frankly.
I mean, if this was any other player, Everton, we would be saying, how dare you retrospectively ban him? Jordan pitches, ban him, we're on the pitch.
Yeah, probably do us a favour.
Yeah. Aaron, obviously, Jordan Henderson had a late goal ruled out for offside, which I've looked at now 30 times from the last time. Instead, I've looked at it 25 times. I've now looked at it 30 times, and I'm yet to see an offside. Help me out. What did he see?
To be honest, it's just so thick from the VAR official. Like, I remember it went in, and I saw it going to VAR. Okay, they're going to look at it, fine. But as soon as the VAR image came up on the screen, I could immediately spot that it was onside. There was no doubt about it. They then zoomed in on it a little bit, and again, it was even more clear that he was onside. What I can't get my head around is the fact that David Koo just couldn't see what the correct decision was. It wasn't VAR's fault there. VAR actually got it right. It wasn't the state of the offside rule or anything. It was simply down to the official being an idiot.
Yeah, I'm baffled. I'm not complaining, but I'm very baffled by what he saw there. I know for a fact if Dominic Calvert-Lewin was put up the winner in the last minute and Richarlison was in that same position, I would be a very angry person right now. But the boots on the other foot, I'm really relieved. But hey, it's a strange one, but I don't think there's anything else to add other than what on earth was you looking at? Mental. We'll move on to the next game of the weekend now. Chelsea 3, Southampton 3. I didn't watch this game. I've only seen brief highlights, but it's another good point for Southampton. Aaron, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I also didn't watch this one. I put myself with Bournemouth QPR instead. That was a brilliant idea. But yeah, I saw the Che Adams goal, and I saw one of, I think it was Verton's first goal. Like you said, it's a good point for Southampton. I'd say it's probably a disappointing result for Chelsea, but to score 3 goals, it from the outside, it seems like it was probably a promising performance going forward. But to concede in the last minute like they did, that would be very disappointing. And yes, it's really all about improving and getting all these new players to gel in the squad. I do think they're going to have a good season still. I'm not a massive Frank Lampard fan, but we all know they've got the quality. It's about letting them gel and letting them become a stable squad. So I'm intrigued to see how they do going forward.
Well, Spencer Owen's a big Frank Lampard fan, as we've all discovered over the last few days, and he's not a big Ralph Hasenhuttl fan. And then, hey ho, with 2 squads completely different in quality, they somehow get the same result. But that's none of my business. Terry on Southampton, good start to the season for them, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. They've shown they've got goal scoring capability. The strikers they've got. And they've added Walcott, which I wasn't his biggest fan here, but he definitely does bring a directness and a pace if you use him correctly. That Chelsea are just their own worst enemies, aren't they? Like that Kepa Arrizabalaga is, I regret to say, at it again. Like the mistake it wasn't just his mistake; it was him and Zuma together conspiring to just. Why doesn't he just backheel it in his own net and save the time? Because he's the only goalkeeper in the Premier League who I would take Jordan Pickford over at this point. Because at least Jordan Pickford occasionally makes the spectacular save, even if he makes the spectacular mistake in the same game. But Kepa doesn't even do that. He just might as well not out. Honestly, they'd probably be better at this point when Mendy's injured, just to put a capable outfield player in goal for that game.
Goalie when needed.
Yeah, pretty much. Pick the best goalie out of your first team, outfield players, and just go, you're in goal.
But hey, that's not a bad idea for us, is it?
We had Jagielka for years, and he could play in goal, and we never used it.
Oh god! Well, we had Tim Howard, even though we was throwing them in towards the end, wasn't he? But, yeah. Man City 1, Arsenal 0, and I did watch this game, and I've never been more bored in all my life. Terry, why is tiki-taka football so boring?
I thought that when I saw bits of this game, I thought I wanted to hate this. It's just the two spokesmen for that style of football in Arteta and Guardiola. Yeah, it's just two similar teams coming up against each other, and basically the one who's got the more experience and the better players won it out. Like, if you're going to beat Man City, you can't play like Man City. There's just no way. Like, you've got to take the Owen Parks approach and play the percentages and, rough them up.
Get the corners.
Yeah. What was it? Richard Keys said, get some proper blokes on the proper blokes on the pitch to rough them up like Troy Deeney.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Sam Allardyce's Evan would have had them everywhere then on that basis. We would have had the team full of proper blokes.
Yeah. Just when the biggest talking point of the game is Aguero putting his hand ever so gently on the shoulder/neck of the lineswoman is the big story. It's not been a very good game.
Proper blokes. I didn't talk about Arsenal.
No, I didn't watch this game either, and so I did watch it, but to be honest, I also found it very, very boring. I wrote down some stuff after each game to kind of remember for this. I don't have anything for Man City Arsenal. I couldn't get into it.
The more you speak to me over these years, the more you hate this nonsense passing style of football, to the point now where you haven't even got notes on Arteta v Guardiola.
To be honest, I don't think it's that I'm against tiki-taka football, but it's now got to the point where it's become so repetitive for Man City. They're not doing anything else. They only scored one goal in this. It's not that they took a bunch of chances and destroyed Arsenal. It was just a dull game, a good result for Man City, a poor result for Arsenal. I don't think there's much else to say other than that.
No, Michel's very much in the mud, playing the 500 pass football and expecting to get anything from Man City. Unfortunately for me, well, I'm not bothered about Newcastle, but unfortunately Steve Bruce is in the mud tonight because I was there, you let 15 shots hit the target and expect anything from the game. Newcastle won, Man United 4. I thought Newcastle did excellently. I did watch this on my perfectly legal stream on Saturday night, but it really annoyed me that I had this on. I weren't really watching it. I was too busy watching Ronald Koeman digging up his hole to go in the mud. But, so all I know about this is Newcastle got to a quick start, and then he decided to let Man United shoot from wherever they want. And it's good news for me because this means for every result he gets, the longer Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to stay in the job he doesn't deserve to be in. Terry, what Man United got to do to sack this man or be a good team?
Crikey. From my own personal selfish point of view, every game that Ollie is still in charge for, I'm happy because he is not going to take them anywhere. And it's not entirely his fault. It's out of his depth. The balls are useless. But even if the ball got him all the players he wanted, I don't think he'd know what to do with them anyway. He's not a very good manager. Well, he's certainly not a good enough manager for the level that Man United are at. The level that they are now, never mind the level they want to be at. They need, I think, a director of football. Now, I know every Man United fan says that, but they need a joined-up sort of plan for transfers. They do that. It's like playing Football Manager, where you just pick good players and put them into a team, and just it works. It doesn't work in real life. You need, good centre-backs together don't just work if they're both the same type of centre-back. If they're both stoppers with no recovery pace, then it doesn't work, even though it would on FIFA. And
I'll challenge you to that one.
that's the... Well, you can have two stopper centre-backs, but not if you want to play the way Man United want to play. But, they need structural change, and they've said this all along, and it's not going to happen because they've gone past the point where that would work. So they could improve with a better manager. Any better manager comes in, they could get more out of that squad. But you've got to be able to make the big decisions and not play, waste of space like Pogba and stick with players who are not as fashionable with the supporters like Dan James and players like that. Like they're caught between serving too many masters at Man United. They've got to just pick one course of action and stick to it, whereas they're not. And frankly, even if they did, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not a good manager.
He isn't a good manager.
Getting away with it because he's got some good attacking players who can take penalties because they get a lot of them. And so they've got fast forwards who can win penalties. And they've got a good penalty taker in Bruno Fernandes, which ironically didn't, it was his 11th penalty since he's been at Man United, Fernandes.
Yeah, they've also got VAR on their side in every single game.
Yeah, the 11th penalty Bruno Fernandes has took for Man United. He only arrived in January. 11 penalties. And
we've had like 6 penalties in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't help. They also had 14 shots on target, 28 off target, and 64% possession. Newcastle just saying, go on, they might as well have all been standing behind the goal shouting, shoot. Because that's all they seem to be doing, just letting them shoot from anywhere. It annoyed me that, but
Newcastle.
Any thoughts on Newcastle, anyone?
Yeah, Newcastle should be fun. Like they've got some good defensive players with some maverick forward players who can, make things happen, and they're just not fun to watch. Like Saint Maxim and Callum Wilson and players like that, they should be better going forward, and they certainly should be better defensively with the coach they've got and some of the, they've got some. They're just sort of, I don't know. They fall now into that sort of bracket with Palace for me, where I look at their players and think, why aren't they better than they are? Like to look at the team, you'd think they'd be, stronger than they are. And that's not to say, Palace and Newcastle are both crap. They're not. But I think based on the strength of the players they've got and the experience of both managers, they should be, they should be better. Newcastle should be, that's higher up the league than they are. Like they should be miles ahead of like. Take your pick, like the Brightons, and they probably is where I've said that, and they are above Brighton, but you know what I mean. They shouldn't be.
Above Brighton. Most teams are because they just do everything but try and score a goal. It seems, but
yeah. Well, what I mean is they should be more competitive in this league than they are, given the players they've got, and they're just not.
They've got some really solid Premier League players. They're not fashionable. I wouldn't take many of them at Everton, but they should function better. I think back like a year ago when Bruce. He played 5-4-1 and Neil Mooney was playing 5-4-1, but in that 5-4-1 he had unbelievable the ability to sort of go from one end of the pitch to the other, and he'll catch a team cold, and he was solid at the back. They all moan that he didn't like the 5-4-1 because it was too defensive, and now he's gone to a 4-2-3-1, and they're all over the place at the back. I just go back to the 5-4-1 and get some results, and they're not even in a bad position. I think he's solid.
I think he still wants to play a heavily defensive system, but you got to consider it like for some of their exciting players, in particular, say Maximan. I think a big reason why he kind of looks so exciting, it's not because he's just talented. Obviously, he's a very talented player, but I think a big factor is that because they play such a deep line, he's got a lot of space ahead of him to run into, and that's what he does. And that's kind of why he shines in that Newcastle team.
Yeah, and by the way, I did when I was watching this game, Ryan Fraser, Jesus Christ! I think if I put Aaron on the right on Saturday night, he'd been better than him. He was woeful. Everything he was like he couldn't find a Newcastle shirt, and people wanted him at Everton. It's embarrassing, honestly.
Yeah, I don't rate Ryan Fraser at all. Of all their signings that they made this summer, I wasn't a big fan of the Fraser one, even if it was on a free.
No, I think he's just a really terrible player, and I don't know why people wanted him at Everton. Well, I got shouted down for that opinion at the time, but oh well, he's right now. We're moving on to today's games now. Lunchtime kick-off. Sheffield United won, Fulham won. And I'm afraid to say, Aaron, Sheffield United are breaking me heart.
I didn't watch this one, and from what I can tell, that was a good decision. Your best friend Adam Lookman scored.
I know, yeah. Fun. What happened there?
I can't really comment on this. It's just a pretty poor result for Sheffield United. I'd say probably a good result for Fulham. It's a point away from home. You can't go wrong with that. Sheffield United just seem a mess at the moment. So, I mean, we'll see what happens.
It's a strange one with them, though, because I was watching it and I didn't think at any point they were playing badly. They just conspire again. They've got Brighton syndrome now, where they just refuse to hit the back of the net. You think they get goals for like hitting the bar or something? It doesn't work like that. It's just they obviously played along the counter attack, and with Burnley, Jesus Christ, there's so many chances he passed up. It was just really odd. And I've gone from thinking they'll be absolutely fine to really worrying about them now. I think they could be in the bottom three.
I don't disagree on them in the bottom three. I told you yesterday that I kind of couldn't figure out who could finish in that 18th position. I mean, if Sheffield United keep this up, then there's no doubt about it for me.
The quality of the team, I've never thought it was brilliant, but it just doesn't look very good. I even look at a team who we've talked about in the preview for Burnley. I think they've got so much more going forward than Sheffield United have, even in the bad times. Of McNeil, Wood, they've got more about them in the final third than the goals they can make Burnley. I just don't think Sheffield United have got anything in the final third.
I think they're probably. I'd say they're probably going to rely on Ryan Brewster to kind of hit the ground running.
And if he doesn't, I think they could be in big trouble.
Do you think it's the lack of fans? Like, it's helped some teams, like Everton in particular, seems to be benefiting from it, but do you think it's killing them?
I think that's probably a factor, yeah.
They struggled when we came back in July as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like whatever they were doing, I feel teams are smart enough to it now, and maybe they've had too many changes in personnel, but I don't know. They're a team I look at, and I think they've got Liverpool, Man City, and Chelsea now. They could easily be not cut adrift, but their season will be spent fighting relegation.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle. If they lose them three, they've got a long way to go. Then having it's only be them and Fulham on a lonely island, won't it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Fulham as well. That I've never seen a team who love to pass the ball from one end of the pitch to the other without going anywhere as much. Fair play to Lookman. He was the only one who wanted to run it to the Sheffield United defence. Everyone else was happy just to. I call it Sigurdsson syndrome, where they're happy to let off to another person rather than doing anything themselves. But good result for Fulham. I think we can agree. I think they're off the mark now. I think they're still going down, by the way, but at least it's a point. At least they're not going to get 0 points this year.
You know what? The Fulham will be the Norwich this year. I think they'll go down and they'll literally do nothing. They won't put a glove on anyone all season, but they'll have all the other teams in the Premier League wants to down pick the players off them here and there, going, he'd do well at us. Like Norwich, like, you know, they absolutely shipped goals for fun, and everyone wanted their defenders.
I can see why with Lord Ben Godfrey.
I know.
Thing is, though, right? Norwich had your good player. You know, I mean, I know Cantwell Brandir stayed at Norwich this season, but they were those are two decent players. I look at Fulham's starting 11, and there isn't really anyone that I'd pick out as a star player. Maybe Mitrovic, maybe Anguissa, but apart from that,
not yet. You wouldn't, but I think maybe after the course of a season, like, you know, Norwich, everyone was raving over, like, as you say, Cantwell and Brandir and what have you. But when it came to the summer, everyone wanted Godfrey, Lewis, Aarons, even though they were awful defensively and quite good going forward. I think you could end up with that again. By the end of the season, someone will go, yeah, we'll have that Anthony Robertson. He's had a year in the Premier League now. He'll be good. Or that Adebayo they've got from Man City.
Yeah.
There'll be players like that who no one wanted to take a chance on when they were all Championship players. But would they have a year in a poor Premier League team, and if they're sufficiently impressed, then you'll see like West Ham go, yeah, we'll take them, or
what's the X factor there though about them conceding loads of goals? The manager. He don't want to set up to defend, and maybe Parker will be a bit smarter than Farke with being brought up in the English leagues and that. But Daniel Farke last year, a suicidal high line.
If I'm Fulham, they won't do it because they don't want to be seen like that. If I'm Fulham with owners who've got money to burn, I bin Parker and I literally pick up the phone to Sam Allardyce and go, "You've got most of a season there. What money do you want? Keep us up." And he would do it with all that time.
You know, the one question he will ask to Carl now is, do you have any copies of the Racing Post around the training grounds? He's not coming in.
Bring in some proper blokes.
Yeah, Troy Deeney's on his way.
Please, I'm begging you.
You know, Cenk Tosun back for 28 million quid he robbed off us.
Oh God.
Yeah, don't forget though. He nearly got Aubameyang when he was at Everton. That's what he tells people, isn't it?
I know. I nearly got Messi for Birmingham City once. Doesn't happen. Work does it?
Nearly got Aubameyang, but we didn't want to spend the money. But then we inexplicably went and spent similar money on Walcott and Tosun's. Like, yeah, that sounds legit, Sam. But honestly, they won't do it because, you know, they'll get pelters off the press for sacking Parker. But I would literally, if I was Tony Khan now, just go, you know what, I'm just going to bite the bullet. And that Allardyce would come in there and he'd use the players he's got and he'd get to January. It's only, 73 days away. And he'd bring in a couple of, you know, better defensive players and he'd keep them up and then you can do something from there.
I have a bit of a better idea than Sam Allardyce for what I would do there, but I'd go and get a similar manager in the vein of Sam Allardyce, but not Sam Allardyce, because I've watched some Sam Allardyce games and at Everton, his teams weren't even that good defensively, to be honest. We got battered some weeks.
Yeah, but they were good enough to stay up, weren't they?
We finished 8th, as we'd like to be told, but that's because we had better players in the final third.
Yeah. When you've got Wayne Rooney playing for you, you know, you're not going to finish bottom 5, but you certainly won't do any better. And that's testament to how bad the league was that year that we finished 8th and we had him. But you're Fulham, telling you, imagine him with Mitrovic and people like that. He'd get it going. And I know
Mitrovic is a spirit animal, isn't it?
I know it's rich from me who hated Allardyce and didn't want him at my club to then be poking, you know, saying go to that other club like as if they'll want him. But it's like, yeah, but you're gonna go down with like a record low points total if you don't sort it out. Maybe not Allardyce, but of all the managers available who would sort Fulham out, he's the best one. You can't go and get Warnock or people like that in jobs, but Allardyce.
Nigel Pearson's available.
Tony Pulis.
Yeah. But I'd even say Allardyce is better than either of them. He's just got that rep, hasn't he? Like he's unpalatable to the fans, but the fans aren't there.
That's amazing. No, I don't care if they boo me and they're not here, are they?
Yeah, mate, he'd be ideal for them.
No, what he'd be ideal in these circumstances as well. No fans. Imagine the results we probably would have got if we weren't singing F off Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, mate. If he came into Fulham, I would immediately say they're not going down. I'd just cancel them from the relegation scenario. But you need to give him time to do it. He's not going to be able to do it.
They're not going to do that, though. They had the chance last time when they put Jukanovic, and I think they had a better team. They got rid of Jukanovic, and they could have brought him in then, but they got Claudio 410 jobs Ranieri. And at that point, they'll never stay up. Yeah, I like Ranieri, to be fair, but they'll never stay up with him.
Yeah.
But there's managers out there who I think would do a lot better than Parker. I think someone like Moyes would be ideal for them. I know he's at West Ham, but I think you'd get a bit of a culture going. I think they've got a culture at the moment where they're happy to lose. I think he would sort that out. But the best manager they've ever had is Roy Hodgson, and he was a defensive manager, so it's not like they're going to turn their nose up to that, is it?
We're just listing every available Brexit manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting Gary Rowett, he's doing wonders in Millwall.
Every vote leave manager we've listed here, so
vote leave managers.
We have every single take back control manager.
Every single taking our jobs manager.
Yeah. But yeah, they're going nowhere but down, are they, Fulham, unless they change something. But they'll get slaughtered if they get rid of Parker because he's well liked, isn't he?
Yeah. We shall move on to Brighton, the Parks and Bennis derby. Palace 1, Brighton 1. we've now. I feel like I've won every argument in football when a team can have one shot and get a point in the Premier League. It was beautiful. I don't think Palace have had over 300 passes in a game this season, but I tell you what, they're roughing teams up, and I feel like they probably need to get better over time. But as for Brighton, how on earth do you not beat that? They were literally say go and beat us, but they weren't going forward, and they still managed to conspire to not win that game of football. Graham Potter, and the jury's coming on him now, Aaron. He's absolutely woeful.
I don't think it's that at all. I completely disagree. The problem isn't Graham Potter. There's a reason that they're creating so many chances, having so many shots. But there's also a reason they're not taking, and that isn't down to Graham Potter. It's down to their strikers. The problem is, though, that's a theme that's run throughout the season and last season, is that it seems they're on the verge of being a very decent team, but they just don't have enough in the final third. I've never seen a side more incompetent going forward. They get to the penalty area and don't know what to do. I mean, in fairness, though, I didn't think it was a penalty for Palace.
No,
that was very harsh. But it's telling that was Palace's only shot. Effectively, Palace did what they had to do. They executed the game plan perfectly. They did all we all expected them to do. It's Roy Hodgson. He's going to defend. He's going to try and grind out a result.
I was having this argument before with someone on Twitter. I said, he was saying something like Palace fans, they should want to play more expansively. And I said, that's absolutely fine. But that's not the remit he gets given from Steve Parish every year. The remit he gets given every year is to finish 17th on 40 points. If he got told to do anything different and got the finances to do more, he spent minus while at his time at Palace. The fans might want him to do more and play more attacking and whatever, but that's not coming from the board, and that's the only thing he can work off. So I don't. Well, what else can he do other than what the board tell him to?
I think Brighton dominated in possession and in shots, but I don't think I can say they deserve to win the game because they just couldn't take their chances. And like I said, Palace executed the game plan perfectly.
I think they should have won the game because
100%.
They should have took the game away from Palace, but Palace got the penalty, which was dubious to be honest. I don't think it was a penalty at all, but they scored that, and then Palace sort of tried to hit them on the break, but they never ever got control of the ball for long enough to cause Brighton any issues. Palace hold on, and then Joel Ward's sloppy mistake, and then McAllister put it in the back of the net, and then Lewis Dunk being Lewis Dunk gets sent off, and then the game fizzles out. I'd say it's a good point for both teams really in terms they would have took a point, but Brighton, honest to God, I've never seen a team just find it so easy to miss the target from any given situation.
I read a tweet earlier that said Brighton have had 43 shots in the last 2 games against Crystal Palace, but they barely scored any of them.
I'm going to quote tweet that in about an hour with a picture of Roy Hodgson saying Roy Ball.
Have we seen the results of the Leicester Villa game?
What score?
1-0 Villa with a 90th minute goal by Christopher Maloney, Ross Barkley.
Oh, I was going to say, who's Christopher Maloney?
It's who he looks like it now, isn't it? He's got that sort of plastic face. Like,
I was thinking, is he a kid from the academy?
he's a new signing from Scotland.
You come from St Mirren, not a free.
Come from St Johnston.
They seriously won.
Yeah, Everton Villa title race this season.
Well, fair play to Dean Smith and Villa, but get rid of him at Leicester. Missed the 700 passes. Absolutely woeful. I didn't even know that score, and that's breaking to me right now, and that's my instant match reaction to Leicester 0, Villa 1. Get him gone. Oh, you can vote for them. You've got Sean Dyche there crying in the corner at Burnley, and you've got him as manager. Absolutely dreadful. I don't care if he was second halfway through last season. He won about 1 game since. Graham Potter, I think, is a better coach. Don't shout it too loudly than Rodgers. I actually think his teams look more coherent than Rodgers' teams at times. I just think Brighton isn't the type of place to play that type of football, personally. But I do think Potter. I think even if you give Potter the England job, I think he would get a hell of a lot more out of England's players than Gareth Southgate would.
Yeah, the Gareth Southgate's terrible, to be fair.
Gareth 7 older midfielders.
Jesus
Four
Christ.
right backs.
No left backs.
Yeah.
I think we could do an entire pod on Gareth Southgate, so...
That's coming. Jesus Christ, Gareth Southgate. He's not even defensive. Every game's boring. And what kind? No managers in history's pulled that one off. Maybe Ronald Koeman away from home in 16-17. But yeah, well, we'll move on to the Alfie Jones special. Spurs 3, West Ham 3. If anyone could score a last-minute screamer, why did there have to be Manuel Lanzini? Jesus Christ. I don't rate Manuel Lanzini at all, for everyone's information. He's not very good, but he scored a brilliant goal. Spurs, everyone thought about a couple of hours ago, they were going to win the lot, and now they're in crisis. It's somewhere in between, surely.
It's like, it's every cliche you can think of for Spurs. You know, it's Spursy, they're a bunch of bottle jobs. It's exactly what happened. You can't bottle a 3-goal lead with 10 minutes to go.
Oh, it was mad. I just don't know what else to say other than
What I will say is,
and then he managed to draw the game.
What I would say is, and Alfie Jones is going to hate every word I'm about to say, I didn't think West Ham were good at all. I thought first half they were particularly poor. The midfield was dreadful for me, Rice and Suchet. I thought Spurs bypassed the midfield far too easily. They got in behind far too often. Second half, West Ham grew into it a bit more. They showed a bit more fight, but I don't think they did anything. And then the final 15 minutes, final 15 minutes, okay, yeah, West Ham probably deserved it from that. But you know, they got a bit of luck with the own goal, and they scored a cracker in the last minute, a hit and hope. So it's very poor for Spurs to throw that away, and fair play to West Ham.
I think it's been a great start for West Ham. I know they had that issue against Newcastle first game where they got outfought more than out. Like, they got outfought more than outfought. You know what I mean? Newcastle got a goal and sat back. But ever since then, I think West Ham have been really, really good. I think they've had a good season.
Yeah, they've been alright, I suppose.
Moyes is making the best of a really bad situation there, isn't he? Like, the ads that graded Diangana there and all that, you know, like, a front three was basically there for them at the beginning of the season. It was Diangana on the left, Bowen on the right, and Antonio up front. And the boards sell Diangana. It's all hell's breaking loose. Like, the captain's tweeting, criticism of the club on Twitter, which I don't think affects form or anything like that, but it shows it's an unhappy camp, which everyone, to the surprise of nobody. But then he doesn't even get the defensive reinforcements, really, that he wants.
Big Craig Dawson, Alfie Jones' favourite centre-back.
Honestly, they sold Diangana because they had apparently 8 wingers, or an embarrassment of wingers, and then they went and got Craig Dawson on loan and then bought Ben Rama. So it's like, but I thought you had too many wingers and you needed defenders. It was just so muddled up. And, Moyes is a foul taste in medicine, but he is medicine. Like, he will cure what ails them. He's just terrible to watch because we know more than anyone, Owen. I mean, well, maybe me more so than you because I'm older than you. But all the traits that West Ham fans don't like about him were the same he had at Everton. He doesn't make a substitution until he's on the way home. He's a terrible in-game manager. If he doesn't get it right from the start, he can't change it. All of his, he's meant to have grown as a manager over the years. He's exactly the same as when he was at Everton. But he has done what he did at Everton. He's starting to build around the hard working players. Like the Anderson's had to get off. He's well more talented than a lot of their players, but he won't run and he won't graft, so he's out. Like, he's building around Antonio. He's building around Bowen, Fornals, Souček. He's they still got problems. Don't get me wrong, but for what he does, he's doing it. It's just he can't fix the real problem at West Ham, which is the people who own the club. But he's I don't think they're going to be in any danger of going down. I did worry at the start of the season, but I think he'll have them nice and safe easily.
He doesn't make the subs until he's on the way home.
For a bit of perspective, Craig Dawson was our 7th choice centre back.
He hasn't been back really, Moyes, has he? But like, he will do a job, and that job will probably end them being 13th in the Premier League. But for West Ham, if they finish between 11th and 13th, that's a really good season for them, considering where they were with Pellegrini, who just told the opposition to run through their midfield and put the ball in the back of the net because no one wanted to run round.
The thing is, after last season, I'm not writing anything off. Watford and Bournemouth both stayed up for 5 years. They both probably had the players to stay up, but they didn't. So I'm not ruling anything out for West Ham.
No, but I think that's the Villa one. Jesus Christ, I was hoping they went down.
But that's the same thing though, because they have a good squad, but I think their manager's terrible.
He isn't good, like. But he's a Championship manager, Smith. But he might be able to grow into a Premier League manager.
Maybe.
But I think Moyes will keep West Ham up, and I think if I'm looking at it early on, I think West Brom and Fulham. I think unless they make the changes we talked about by getting the take back control manager, then I think they're going to go down. And then I think personally for me, it'll be between Sheffield United and Brighton for the last place at the moment. Don't look at me and discuss that. And Brighton.
Comment.
For the last place, but I think we will finish the pod today by talking about the games tomorrow and a quick discussion on Project Big Picture. We'll start off tomorrow. West Brom v Burnley. We're all paying the £15 to watch that, aren't we?
Illegal stream for me.
Perfectly
legal stream, I should have,
Right, yeah, you are. If you pay £15 to watch that, you are keen. You are you are a lover of the Premier League if you watch that.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not going to be paying £15 to watch it, but I will be sourcing a very perfectly legal stream to watch it.
Right. Someone's going to pay for that. Some loose cannon is going to part with £15 some head the ball.
It's like spending 40 million quid on Felipe Anderson.
Yeah, exactly.
Walsh is pricing up and saying, well, if we pay £15 for West Brom v Burnley, we won't have to pay £15 for another game next week. Isn't it?
Oh dear.
But I think that's a must-win game for Burnley.
It's a must-win game for West Brom as well.
Yeah. I think it's a real 6 points to that. I think Burnley have a bit more Premier League now, and I think they'll edge the game. But I don't think it will not be pretty. We've been seeing these goals flying in all weekend. There will not be many goals in that game, I don't think, because I think it'll just be so tense.
Yeah, I mean, Burnley will probably do what they always do. And I mean, I'm a big fan of Carlin Grant, so if he can play, they might have a chance. But if he's unavailable, I think I'll probably have to give it to Burnley, even though they've been pretty poor this season.
Yeah, I think Burnley have been the classic example of an unhappy camp, and I think I just don't think they've got as much quality as West Ham to sort of paper over it. I think Dyche will be doing the exact same thing as what Moyes has been doing, but I think West Ham just had that bit more than Burnley. And Leeds v Wolves. I'd love to see Wolves win that to put Leeds right back down on the bloody Championship level. Nonsense. I hate Leeds. I absolutely loathe Leeds United, and if the Leeds fans listen to this, don't listen again. If you listen to another podcast, I don't like you.
I mean, that Spencer says that Bielsa's the fifth or sixth in the league.
Don't start me on that. We were discussing it all last night. He put Frank Lampard sixth because he bought a load of good players and is a nice guy.
But Mikel Arteta's sixth because he put the cones out for Pep.
Yeah. Bielsa was so high, wasn't it? Was it like it was Klopp, Pep? No, he didn't. He put Klopp, Mourinho, Pep, Ancelotti. Then I think it was Bielsa. Lampard, then it was Lampard and Arteta. It's like, you're all right.
The friends of the podcast, El Kens, put his house on Twitter, and it was much better than Spencer's, and Spencer has a greater listenership. So I don't know what was going on with that. Lampard, Arteta in the top 7. He based it on the fact that it was who he would want to see appointed as a manager if he was an owner of a club. Yeah, some of his shouts were baffling. He was making it out like it was going to be like a 1-year rolling contract who you'd want to have, and then his excuse for putting Roy Hodgson 50 was he was 73. Well, it doesn't really work like that, does it?
With David Moyes 10th because he's a safe pair of hands, but he's got Roy Hodgson 15th, who does arguably the better version of a pair of safe hands.
Yeah, it's mad. And he says, I want a manager who can learn and then grow into be a successful manager. He put Scott Parker bottom and then Lampard 6th. And there's literally no difference between them other than Parker got his team promoted and Lampard didn't.
Exactly. Oh, I want some respect on Hasenhüttl's name. He's a great manager.
What's going on there?
Oh.
I'd love to see a championship manager ranking, by the way. And then all the proven Brexit managers in the top half and everyone else in the bottom half.
Well, unless they're 73, and then he'll put them bottom. Neil Warnock will be right at the bottom. Why? Because he's old. Well, it doesn't really work like that, does it?
Because he's old and looks like Tony Soprano's mum. He proper does. If you ever put those pictures side by side, it's an old one, but you will never ever be able to unsee it.
No, and then he had some. There was another really mad one he did that really escaped me. This is what really annoyed me. He said Ancelotti's fourth, and he said the reason he's fourth behind Mourinho, Guardiola, and Klopp is he just hasn't managed in the Premier League as long as them. So you have to be good to manage in England now, do you?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Because the reason they were above him because they've managed more games in England. That's not really how it works, but okay.
Who cares what he thinks anyway, frankly.
No, me and Aaron, he triggers us every year with his predictions and his rankings.
And Norwich 12th because they play most football.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, at least this instance brought peace to the conflict between me and Lucas at Elkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really have any issue with him, but I called him an idiot once on something.
No, it was the thing that I was on with you, and he said we were talking about. I can't remember. He said, "Yeah, that guy's an idiot."
Yeah, and you know why? You know why I called him an idiot? And I remembered just going because he called Andre Gomez and Bernard shit, and as the years have gone on, I've thought, he was right. I've had to slowly climb down and go, you may have had a point there.
Terry, you idiot.
Like, am I the idiot? I think I am. And then when he said, when he bashed the kickoff for like just, proper shite fans acting like they're pundits, I just thought, yeah, I've realised I've been the baddie all along in this.
Am I the baddie?
Yeah, just literally did the Alan Partridge go, can I just shock you? I like Luke, despite what I said earlier.
He's also gone up in my estimations for putting Sean Dyche 9th in that manager list. That's a really respectable position for Sean.
Sean Dyche should be happy with 9th, as he always is.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. For his type of reckoning, that's really good. He also put Graham Potter 14th below him, 5 places below him or something like that, and that really pleased me.
You're having a field day here.
And I even messaged him last night saying, I'm surprised Dyche that high. He said, I'm really only on Twitter for bites, but I do know what I'm on about.
That explains so much.
Yeah. He's a good guy though, Luke. He's a friend of the podcast, so if you're listening, we all respect Luke McKenzie. We don't, however, respect Alfie Jones's opinion that Abdoulaye Doucouré is a rubbish midfielder. I just want to get this out on there that this guy thinks Mikel Antonio is a better footballer than Richarlison.
And Ismaila Sarr, let's not forget that one.
And yeah, he thinks he's better than him as well. But Alfie. We just want to finish the podcast off now by talking about the failed coup of the Premier League by Project Big Picture. Just quick thoughts on this, Terry. Are you happy it's failed?
Yeah, absolutely happy because everyone knew what it was. There was no one in football who didn't see it, for what it was, as a shameless land grab while the chips were down for everyone else. Like, they basically dangled money to they weren't giving it charitably. They were buying something with the money for the lower leagues. Now, whether the clubs that would have benefited think it was a bad idea, I don't blame them if they don't think it was a bad idea. But it doesn't change what it was. Liverpool and Man United were not being altruistic with that move. They weren't being like selfless benefactors. I know that the rest of the Football League were probably like, you know what, fine. And I know from being a Premier League, team supporter, especially one who doesn't go down and go up. Like, I'm in a very, specific position where it's like, yeah, this will. Everton would have been one of the special 9 teams who make the decisions, but we wouldn't really, because you only need 6 to vote on things. And which 6 are going to be in more accordance more often. It was just to basically fiddle the scales of the Premier League to say, right, we'll shove money down the leagues and we'll do all these things we should be doing anyway, like capping away tickets and grassroots money and all that. We'll do all that, but you need to let us basically pick and choose what flies and what doesn't in the Premier League. So I'm glad it got dismissed out of hand. It was a shameless power grab, and they ended up having to vote against it themselves, their own idea. There's still a conversation to be had. Well, can we do all those things that were good in that proposal? We're just not giving Liverpool and Man United the right to basically decide that they're going to be the Champions League teams forever, and anyone else can't do it. Like, they wanted to veto other takeovers and things, didn't they? It's like,
nonsense. To be honest, yeah, I agree with all that. But what offended me the most in all of that was that someone in that board meeting decided that the 9th most influential club in English football was Southampton Football Club. What a load of nonsense. The bloody Black Horse by Mind football team more influential than Southampton. Jesus.
Do you know what? If they'd have made it where the 9 teams all together had to vote, you had to have a majority of 9. I still wouldn't have liked it, even though Everton would have been quids in that scenario. If this had gone through, we'd have still been all right. We'd have been part of the decision makers. We'd have had a massive rebate on the new stadium we're going to build. It's still not right. Like, you should still be looking to look after the football pyramid without pints of blood for it, because he just basically thought, let's exploit the coronavirus situation where these clubs are nearly going to the wall and dangle rescue money in front of them for them to give up any, basically we're going to appoint ourselves as unimpeachable royalty at the top of the Premier League forever. I was like, nah. And the absolute cheek of Man City, of Tottenham, of Chelsea, these clubs who, frankly, were part of the great unwashed themselves, in living memory. Like Chelsea, you weren't any better than anyone else 15 years ago. City, same to you, but it was 10 years ago. Tottenham, still. You decided Tottenham are bigger than Everton? Like,
who decided Southampton were in this conversation?
I know. It's like, and I'm not even just saying that because I think Everton are the top 6, so they should be one. No, I don't think. I think the 20-team democracy should. Why change it? Like, if you want to knock it down to 18 teams because you want to help the internationals or something like that, then that can be discussed. And even then, I'm not really into that. But there's things in that which you can discuss, but not the voting rights thing is what it was really about. The long game was we want to be able to have the voting power to change the TV money split. That's all it's about. We want to get to the end game where no one can stop us saying, this is Liverpool and Man United. We will not give an even split for the TV money. We will take the majority of the TV money deal, which means nobody will end up like La Liga, where a couple of teams can just absolutely blow everyone else away.
Well, to be honest, I'd like this league to be like Liga. There's 200 past football now the league, but anyway. Aaron, quick thoughts on Project Big Picture.
Yeah, I'm delighted it hasn't gone through as well. Supporting a small club my whole life, it made me feel a bit worried about the future, not just my club, but the rest of the football league. I just can't get past the idea of Man United and Liverpool basically running everything. It was always going to be a terrible idea, and it should never have even been considered.
No, and let's hope from now on there's more sort of I don't know, transparency in the Football League, so where we can help teams at the bottom who are struggling, but also recognise that it isn't just because you've got loads of fans and you've had a historically successful time of it, doesn't mean you should have the forge the future of the league completely. I just think it should be a meritocracy, and if Liverpool go bad, if we go bad, it's football, it's a game. It's not something that should be scripted, and it feels like they wanted to script football, which again, I don't think that can be on. So happy that it's been shut down. We did ask for some questions, but yeah, I'm not reading out questions about should we drop Yerry Mina for Southampton, because it's not an Everton podcast, it's a Premier League podcast. But obviously, if you're listening still, thank you for listening. There'll be another pod out next week, surely, for sometimes discussing the same things we always talk about, and it'll always end up with me bemoaning a manager for playing too many passes and not scoring enough goals with them passes, and then bemoaning Liverpool fans and Leeds fans. But hey, it's cathartic if not anything else. Thanks to Aaron and thank you, Terry, for coming on. Much appreciated again, and we'll see you next time.